Howdy folks, Kirk and Jay here with Kirkgiordano Plaster. Sometimes folks call me and they say, Kirk, come take a look at my house and give me your opinion of what our options are. I'll explain to you folks what I explained to these folks. Now this old wood house, it's been done about 100 years ago. How do I know? This old wood right here, this is called, well, I just call it old wood lath, but technically it's called continuous lath board. It was done in the 1890s to about 1930. Great stuff, guys, if you maintain it over the generations or 100 years. If it's painted and primed and sealed every 10 years, I've seen this stuff last hundreds of years and it still looks brand new. Anyway, I'll tell you what I told these folks. I said, okay. I walked in and I said, wow, you have a lot of people who had an idea of what they were doing, but nobody really was able to match the texture. But textures are cosmetics, guys. They're not super important. Unless it's your house and you say, gee, I want the whole house to match because I like the cosmetics of it. So what I did is I said, okay, guys, what you should do, no matter who you hire, if it's Jay or me, is get rid of all the loose stuff first, because these things like this, they're buckling. There's no weep screeds. They didn't even have weep screeds back in the 1900s. But get rid of all the buckling. That way when it rains, it won't expand this wood here and keep getting worse and worse over the years. Anyhow, I'm going to take you around here and I'm going to show you what I told them. Okay, here's what I said to these folks. Now, the guys who did all these textures, and there's 20 different guys, some of them were better than others. This guy here, he gave it his best shot to match a dash finish. Doesn't match. So if you look up, you can see that somewhere along the line, maybe 30 years ago, a little piece of that failed and they tried to match that finish. It's far from accurate. So what I tell these folks is, it's your house, your rules, whatever you want, we'll do. If you want the whole house uniform, you got to let me know this, and we'll put a dash finish over the entire house. They said, Kirk, I want to just paint it and do the least amount just to get it through winters and structurally strong. I said, okay. What we'll do is we'll knock some of this heavy stuff off done by homeowners or handyman or amateurs, and what's under that will match some of this a lot closer without having to remove any of the actual base coat. So what we're prepared to do today, I said, look, it's the front of your house, guys. How about this? We'll hit this with a new dash finish. We'll redash this from window sill to the bottom, and this one pillar right here. This way the front of your house is uniform. They like that idea. I said up there we're not going to do it because we'd need staging and I have to charge you for that. They said, just knock some of that stuff down like you were explaining. That works for us. Moving on. Okay, moving on now, guys. I looked at this. Have to put my glasses on because I don't want this dust going in my eyeballs. I said, well, this just is the folks, they redid this pillar, just the cosmetics of it. But when they applied the dash, which doesn't match, they didn't clean this very well, and or there was dust, or they didn't apply a bonding agent to this. So we're just going to use putty knives or our tools, scrape all this stuff off, hit it with wire brushes and a little bit of pressure washing, and then we're going to redash this pillar here too, because it's the front of the house. Over a brick surface, same thing. This brick is like 10 tons. The whole house in front is not even that, so it's going to settle at a different rate. And this is all landfill anyway, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove what is already coming off. Now, you could use a hand scraper like this. You could use a lot of things, guys, a trowel, whatever. Here's what Jay has. He prefers this, and he filled that truck up the last 3 days. They filled it up. They just went to the dumps early this morning and emptied it of a few tons of all the things they broke off from previous jobs. I hate break off, but for the sake of explaining and showing you guys, I'll show you. Because break off, it'll go in your eyes. That's why I'm wearing these motorcycle glasses. Jay's tool of choice is this guy here. Now you could just use this and use the power of a battery or get an electric one. And the same thing applies here. You just scrape it off, guys. Scrape it off. And if you see things that are really, really bad, like they said they had dirt up to here, and I said, well, when we're done, put that dirt or moss back up there. This has got to be repaired, so we take this off and put new stucco there. I'll show you one more thing. I don't want to bore you guys with too much information, but all right, guys, what I did was I said, yeah, these guys, they weren't all that great. They couldn't match it, and I know exactly how they did all these textures, but I scraped a little bit off. I said, are you good with that? That matches what these guys tried to do. It's a dash finish. You use a brush and you throw it on. They said, yeah, we're kind of good with that. So I said, what we'll do is we'll include in our bid to remove some of this nasty stuff that somebody else did. You got to watch this. Just tried it. It's really strong. So we just take it sideways, or you can do what I showed them. I just took my, I had a 3-in-1 or a putty knife, and all I was doing was this. If you guys don't have one of these, or you could use a shovel. The shovel is just to knock off the high points, or even a floor scraper, and knock off the high points. And I was showing them that. They said, Kirk, I kind of like that. It's working. Nobody sees this side, and it's been this way for 40, 50 years. We're really good with it. Just clean it up a little bit. All right, guys, since I was criticizing the last fellas saying their work didn't look all that great, okay, it sucked. I'm going to show you how we do it and how it should be done. I'm going to tell you a secret. Old man Whitey, guy I used to work with 40 years ago, he was telling me this important detail on how to dash. So I figure I'll tell you guys. Now this is soupy cement. We did a lot of patches around here and there. Then we just put the same base coat in here and mix it up with some water. So it's soupy cement. What's this? It's a dash brush, 8-inch bristles, and like a dash of salt, you throw it on. Now what those guys did is they threw it on, but it was way too wet. Then they dabbed it. When you dab it like this, you create valleys and mountain tops. That's why it didn't match. There's an area we did, and it's getting kind of late, so we're getting ready to get out of here. But I figured I'd show you guys a tip. All right, when you mix up your base mud, put the sand in it and mix it well so that the sand doesn't drop to the bottom. And this doesn't require rocks, guys. If you put rocks in it, it will sink to the bottom. Have we done it with rocks? Absolutely. But here's what old man Whitey told me like 30, 40 years ago. When I saw old man Whitey, he was like 70 and I was 20. Now we're reversed. Perlite. What's perlite? It's volcanic glass. It absorbs moisture. This is good for lightweight concrete, lightweight stucco. You can put it in your garden to keep the moisture in. They even used to make these headbands. You put it on, and if you sweat a lot, the headband would swell up with this stuff, perlite. So what we did is we put a lot of perlite in this. Why? Because if you put a lot of perlite, the perlite will stay to the top. If you put rocks or gravel, which we've done, it sinks to the bottom and it's really hard to get it off the brush. But just for the sake of showing you this one area here, because we're done over there, and actually we've done one side on the front. We'll probably finish it tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day, guys. All right, here's what you do. You take your dash brush, stick that baby in water all the way. Then you put it in your mud that you've just made. And here's where it gets messy, guys. Get that brush in there. You see all that stuff? And lightly dash it twice. One. If you keep going over it, what'll happen is it'll just drag down. You don't want to keep going over one spot. So now I'm pushing this brush all the way to the bottom. And it fills up, guys. But when it fills up, throw it on there. And the perlite gives it a uniform finish if you know how to do it, guys. And so, since we're going over this painted surface here, which we put a bonding agent, and we had to get some boo-boos out right here, that sets up and sucks up the mud immediately. So, anyway, if you guys are gonna do this, wear glasses. Have I got it in my eyeballs already? Absolutely. This stuff goes everywhere. No such thing as staying clean when you're doing a dash finish, guys. So what I tend to do is throw it on there. If I get a little bit on the wood, that's all right. They're going to paint the house anyhow. But the idea is get a uniform finish, guys. And as you're taking the mud out of the bucket, it tends to fall. It's all going toward the bottom. Not a big deal. Not really. Sometimes we'll use a paddle and bring it back to life. Sometimes I'll just dip my brush in water like so, and then put it in here and mix it in the bucket with the brush, because it all settles at the bottom, guys. Put a lot of cement, otherwise it'll all settle at the bottom. And hit it over the painted surface a couple times, because it'll have the tendency not to want to stick. Over a finish like this, where we're trying to get some of the bigger things out, that's okay. And I'm turning it again. I'm mixing the sand at the bottom. The perlite stays towards the top. So this is how you get a uniform finish. Had those guys known some of this stuff, they too could have got a uniform finish. But this is one of the tougher things in the plastering trade. And you got to cover everything. If they're going to paint it, you should, like we covered the roof there. I'm going to show you a little bit more, because we got to get cleaned up and we're running out of daylight. Obviously we're on a busy street, and I have like 4 inches left of stucco in here, so I want to at least finish what I started to prove a point, guys, because I'll come back tomorrow, forget where the heck I was as far as showing you guys how to do this. And these dash brushes, you get them at the plastering yards. Sometimes Home Depot will sell them, not all the time. And again, you get any on the wood, don't panic. It can just be wiped right off, seeing that this is going to be painted soon anyhow. Okay. It's best to have a full bucket when you're dashing. Right now I'm at like 4 inches left, so just to prove a point, I'm going to use these lousy 4 inches and finish. But can you tie a dash finish in with a dash? Absolutely. If it's a float finish, meaning a sand, you can tie that in too. You can tie almost every finish in, guys, if you know how. I figure like this, after 1,000 videos and 15 years of doing this, you guys all know how to do this now. AI is going to replace us, and all you young plasterers are going to replace us. I'll be like a garment cast aside, like yesterday's old newspapers. I'll probably have to get a job as a greeter at Kmart, and you guys will be doing this while I'm retired somewhere. Anyway, guys, my name is Kirk. Jason's on the camera. He's been doing this crap all week, so he's tired. Like that, I'll video it, but my arm is killing me. You start throwing this stuff on for 8 hours, 10 hours, your arm turns like spaghetti. You need a day or two to recover. Anyway, you get the idea, guys. Dash, brush, dash, finish. My name is Kirk. Jason's on the camera. We thank you guys for watching, and as usual, we'll see you on the next one.
All right, folks, as always, we want to thank you all for watching. We really appreciate your questions and comments. Please let us know if there's anything you'd like to learn about. And as always, from the entire Giordano family, we'll see you on the next one. Okay, well, we're never going to get better than that, so...